Welcome to Matchweek 21's version of Prem and Proper. John here. And if you've missed contributor Niles' look back at the week that was, considering there was a lot of stuff midweek and a very, very busy weekend, you can catch that on the network. Don't forget to download the Soccer Down Here app. Available iOS and Android. You can also catch us on all of our social media platforms and especially on YouTube and soccerdownhere.net on the web. All right, let's go through what happened in the last match week. We'll go through the scores and to get you ready for FA Cup, which is coming up in the next weekend. The folks in the Premier League taking the week off to get caught up on their in-country competitions. And we'll run through the final scores from the Premier League over the last week's time so we can get you ready for an off week, but it's more about chasing cups. So if we go back 7, it takes us back to the 18th. Manchester United and Crystal Palace, a 1-1 draw. Manchester City put 4 on Spurs in a crazy game. Down 2-0, they come back to win it 4-2 at a minus 200. Very, very busy on your Saturday, your Sunday, and your Monday to close out the week. Liverpool and Chelsea, a goalless draw. Only the one chance on net that was in, but it was called back at a plus 260 for the 90-minute draw. West Ham and Everton in basically a relegation 6-pointer. Both teams kind of floundering in the relegation zone. West Ham got 2 on the board. Jared Bowen a double after it was announced that his wife was going to be having twins. So very, very fitting. Jared Bowen with a double at a minus 118. West Ham got the win. Everton got the loss and also sacked Frank Lampard. More on that as we go in news and notes coming up in just a bit. Villa, big 1-0 win over Southampton to keep the pace in the middle of the table at a plus 181. Leicester and Brighton, a crazy 2-2 match themselves at a plus 289. Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest was up 1-0. Bournemouth came back to score late for the draw at a plus 218. Crystal Palace and Newcastle, a goalless draw at Selhurst Park at a plus 263. On your Sunday, 3 matches, Manchester City 3 on the board against Wolves. Erling Haaland, a natural hat trick in about 60 minutes at a minus 385. Leeds and Brentford, a goalless draw. Leeds gets a point at home at Elland Road. Brentford still hanging in there mid-table at a plus 254. Arsenal and Manchester United, crazy match there, a 5-goal thriller. Arsenal got the game-winning goal in Fergie time at the Emirates to win at a minus 115 to keep pace at the top of the table. And Fulham and Tottenham on Monday Night Football, goal by Harry Kane. And Spurs get the win at a plus 112 at Craven Cottage over Fulham. So that sets up the standings and how things are heading into the FA Cup week. On top, Arsenal, match in hand on Manchester City, 5 points clear. Newcastle is third at 39 points on goal difference. Newcastle and Mark Pope have only given up 11 goals in their 20 matches this year, unbeaten in their last 5. Manchester United is fourth at 39 points. They are only at a plus 7 in goal difference compared to the plus 22 of Newcastle. Spurs in 5th. They've lost 3 of 5, but they have played 21 matches. Most of a couple of teams in the Premier League have hit already 21. They're at 36 points. Then to that second group that we like to talk about. Starting in 6th, Brighton, 31 points, goal difference of plus 10. They are ahead of Fulham on goal difference, who are at a plus 2. Brighton also have 2 matches in hand. They've only played 19. Fulham have played 21. Brentford is in 8th. They are at 30 points, unbeaten in their last 5. They've played 20 matches. Liverpool is in 9th. They have not won in their last 3. 29 points, 19 matches themselves. Chelsea also at 29 points in 20 matches played, unbeaten in their last 2. After snapping a 2-game losing streak, they're at 29 points and a goal difference of plus 1. 28 points, Aston Villa. They are in 11th place, and they are unbeaten in their last 4. Now to that third group. You can count Crystal Palace at the bottom of the second group if you like. 24 points. They've drawn their last 2 after losing 2 in a row. They're in 12th. Now, here's where the fun starts. Forest is in 13th at 21 points. They're unbeaten in their last 4. They've made their way up the table from being in the relegation zone. Leicester, 18 points. They have not won in their last 5. Only 1 point in their last 5. 12 losses in 20. They're at 18 points. Leeds has drawn 3 of 4. They've been kind of treading water. They're behind Leicester on goal difference, on goals scored. Leicester and Leeds at a minus 7, both of them. But Leeds has only scored 26 goals, and they've won 4, but they also have a match in hand. 16th, West Ham, big win for them to get full points against Everton. They're at 18 points, 12 losses in their first 20. Wolves, just outside of the relegation zone on goal difference. They and Bournemouth have the same record of 4, 5, and 11. Wolves have a goal difference of minus 18. Bournemouth, after being blown out a couple times, are at a minus 23. And Wolves have only scored 12 goals so far this season, and Bournemouth have scored 19. Bournemouth in the relegation zone at 17 points. They only have their 1 point in their last 5. Same for Everton, who are at 15 points, and they're looking for a new manager and a new owner. Get into that as we go. Southampton, bottom of the table on goal difference at a minus 18 compared to the minus 13 for Everton. Now, getting you into the sound and getting you ready for FA Cup week and setting your fantasy team for 2 weeks from now. What's the future for Harry Kane? Harry Kane kind of frustrated right now. Spurs not winning all the things that, if you're a Spurs fan, you'd like for them to be winning. 36 points, they're in 5th. So what is the future for Harry Kane? Darmish Sith and Kaveh Salkahal address it on Sky Sports News.
Yeah, uncertainty then over Conte's future at Tottenham. But what about Harry Kane? Kaveh, what's the latest on that one?
I think there's good news for Tottenham supporters because Harry Kane is open to signing a new contract at Tottenham. Look, everybody knows that come the summer, he'll only have 12 months left on his deal. He's spoken in the past about the fact that he wants to win trophies, and that's not something that he's done so far in his career. But he's very happy at Tottenham. He is Mr. Spurs. Some things are just meant to be. The Prime Minister lives at number 10 Downing Street. The King lives at Buckingham Palace. Harry Kane has to play for Spurs. And I think if the circumstances are right, he will hopefully sign a new contract at Spurs. But there's going to be lots of interest from clubs, both in England and in Europe.
I love that comparison, Kaveh. Florian, when we spoke in September...
I can say something about...
Yeah, go for it, Gianluca.
I can say something about Harry Kane, because I know, I can confirm what you said, and I can tell you that just 2 meetings between Spurs and Harry Kane's agents had taken place. So 2 meetings, and it's confirmed that Harry Kane is open to renew the contract, and talks are ongoing between Kane agents and Tottenham to renew the contract. 2 meetings.
Then there's Chelsea right now in 10th place at 8, 5, and 7, 29 points. We've talked about them. So what is their future, and how are they able to drop close to $500 million on investments? Kaveh Salkahal addresses that once again on Sky Sports News.
People are making a big deal, not surprisingly, about how much money Chelsea are spending. Since the new owners came in, they've spent something like £500 million on new players. People saying, how can they do that? What about the financial fair play rules? Well, you have to remember, Chelsea have made a lot of money in the last couple of years from selling players for big fees. For instance, players like Eden Hazard. They also didn't sign any players for, I think, 2 windows when they were under a FIFA transfer embargo. And they feel they have the money to be able to do these deals. And when you talk about financial fair play, it basically says that you're only allowed to lose a certain amount of money. And Chelsea feel comfortable that what they are doing is within their budgets. And you have to bear in mind 2 things. They've made a lot of money in the past from selling players, and also for a couple of windows they did not spend any money whatsoever. And I know a lot of people are joking and laughing at what Chelsea are doing, but you can't make a judgment about what they're doing now. Only time will tell whether all these players turn out to be good signings. And from what Chelsea players have seen, the short glimpses they've had of players like Mudryk, Badiashile, they are players who can be very, very good acquisitions for Chelsea in the future.
All right. Speaking of Spurs, they swooped in, got a player that Everton was looking to get. Here's what happened with Arnaud Danjuma, courtesy of Sky Sports News.
Welcome back. Thanks to Andy Scott and the team for that bit of boxing just now. Whilst they were on, some breaking news in relation to the future of Arnaud Danjuma, who was expected to join Everton, but there could well be a late twist. Let's head to Vinny O'Connor for the latest. Vinny.
Yeah, it looks to be bad news for Everton's hopes of signing Arnaud Danjuma on loan, because now Spurs have made a late move to sign him from Villarreal on loan as well. Yesterday, as you say, we reported that Danjuma had agreed to join Everton. Everton expected to complete the deal today. He was expected here at Everton's Finch Farm training ground, but now he is travelling to London for talks with Spurs after Spurs have made that late move to hijack his proposed loan spell at Everton. So it looks like Everton could well miss out on a target that Frank Lampard had worked on, of course, in bringing in. And it seemed that Danjuma had agreed to join Everton after seeking reassurances exactly what was going to happen as regards a new manager coming in to replace Frank Lampard. And, of course, today we've seen all the strong links with Marcelo Bielsa. But it seems as well, after a little bit of a hold-up initially due to Everton's managerial predicament, shall we say, that it's had a further impact. And with Spurs now coming into the frame, Danjuma is off for talks with them over a proposed loan move from Villarreal, having agreed to join Everton, and we'd expected that deal to go through today.
Vinny, thank you very much indeed for now.
Manchester United, we mentioned them. They're in fourth right now on goal difference behind Newcastle. Once again, Newcastle at a plus 22, Manchester United at a plus 7. Eric Ten Hag addressed the trophy drought at Old Trafford, courtesy of Manchester United, their own self.
It's the best feeling, what you can have, winning a trophy. And yeah, I had to look at my career to win some trophies, and it's magnificent, and especially for the fans. Is it so great? And I think the fans here, they have some experience, especially the older ones. But now, it's a period Manchester United didn't win trophies, and it's too long ago. So we are aware of that fact, and we have to do everything to bring a trophy in.
Newcastle, we mentioned them. They're in third. They've only lost once in their 20 matches so far this year, 9 draws and 10 wins. Eddie Howe was asked about what it would mean to get past Southampton in the Carabao Cup semi-final, courtesy of Newcastle, their own self.
Yeah, it's a long time, and we're desperate to try and change that. But, I think looking too far back and going too historical, I think at this moment probably doesn't serve us well. I think the players know. I think they'll read enough. So it's just to make sure that we're in the present moment, really.
Is avoiding defeat, is that a decent result in the first leg at the time like this?
I don't think we'll approach it that way. Our mindset isn't conditioned to do that now. We're going to win. As in, we're going to try and win, not we're going to win. We're going to try and win in our preparation. Had to make that clear.
A couple of interesting conversations that you had Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher have on Sky Sports. The first one is on the future of Antonio Conte and what they think is going to happen to the guy who has said that he does not want to talk about a contract extension right now at Spurs. So what's next? They discuss.
If you just said to me that you give Conte 200 million quid in 2 transfer windows at Tottenham Hotspur, I'd say he's been well supported based on what Tottenham have done in the past. So I don't think that's not being supported. I think that's been well supported. All right, they've not spent 400 million like other clubs may have done, like Chelsea have done, or like Manchester United have done. But let's be really clear, Manchester United panic signed Casemiro and Antony and overpaid in that period when they lost 4-0 to Brentford. Chelsea are about as chaotic as it gets at this moment in time, spending money left, right and centre, giving players 25-year contracts to amortise them over that length. At this moment in time, £200 million and those 6 players. If you just said to me 2 transfer windows ago, Conte would get that. They'd finish in the Champions League. They're 3 points off the Champions League now. They're playing AC Milan in a few weeks' time. I'd say this is going really well, but why is it feeling that it's not going well?
But when you're saying really well, I agree with you. And I said before, Tottenham getting in the top 4. We consider that as success. I don't think Conte sees that as success. He's a guy who...
But where's he going to go? Well, who's going to have him now?
Listen,
tell me what club in England's going to have him. What club? Barcelona and Real Madrid going to have him? No. What club in Germany's going to have him? Bayern Munich going to have him? No. Liverpool, Chelsea, City, Manchester United going to have him? No. So my point is...
Maybe he wants to be back in Italy.
He's at the best club he could possibly be at this moment in time.
I agree, everything that you've said.
But
Antonio Conte's mentality is, it's about winning. He's never going to accept even finishing 4th. If he got 4th to Tottenham every year, I don't think he'd be happy. He sees himself like Pep, like Klopp, like Jose Mourinho in terms of winning trophies.
Jamie,
let me just finish.
No, at the end of last season...
let me just finish 1 second. So you have clubs in this country who I think I think what sort of City, Chelsea and Man United are is that if they bring a manager in, they could probably win tomorrow because they spend that much money. Whereas a Liverpool job, an Arsenal job and a Tottenham job is probably more of a building job. So Klopp's took every season getting closer. Arteta's had to do that. Tottenham's that club, and I don't think Conte's that manager.
Also on the board, Neville and Carricker discuss Everton. And although when we come back from this particular snippet from their discussion, I could probably come up with a couple of different teams that are more worthy of the title that Jamie Carragher is going to give Everton in this discussion, courtesy of our friends at Sky Sports.
Yeah, I think so. I think a decision had to be made. And I always feel with a manager, if you've got a similar record to the guy before, who you replace, so Rafa Benitez run a similar sort of run, I think 1 win in 12 or something like that, you can't complain then when the club decide to make a change when you've got a similar sort of record. So we're going to look at Everton this season and the underlying numbers as well, really. So we look where they are, the points. We know they're joint bottom of the table with Southampton. The problem is their underlying numbers in terms of expected goals against is pretty much where they are. You know, so yes, they should have scored a few more goals. We get that. But we know they've lacked goals with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Actually, their XG against, and if you actually look at the goals they've conceded, I mean, the fact Jordan Pickford has been playing out of his skin has meant they've actually got a better defensive record than what those numbers tell you. But what the kill has been, I think for Frank especially, is that Everton have become such an easy touch. And that's not just on Frank, that's on those players. Those players, for me, that group of players is not good enough. We know that, that's obvious. But they shouldn't be bottom of the league. And what's the absolute killer is that Everton, who I always associate from when I was a child and when I played against them as being a tough place to go, uncompromising, aggressive, they're an easy touch. They're the easiest touch in the Premier League. If you're on a bad run, you want to play Everton. And these stats bear it out. So they lose to West Ham at the weekend. West Ham are in a horrendous run. 1 of the last 8 who they beat Everton. Wolves won 2 of the last 10, Everton and West Ham. Bournemouth on a horrific run. The only one game they've won was Everton. And Southampton, exactly the same. So when you're on a bad run, you want to come up against Everton. So there's no doubt about that. Now, I've just said it was right to change the manager. But nobody knows a football club better than their own supporters. Their own supporters haven't got banners in the crowd for Frank Lampard. They've got them for Farhad Moshiri and the board. And I said on this programme about 6 to 12 months ago, Everton are the worst run club in the country. And it wasn't a flippant remark, I believed it. And I'm not saying that as an ex-Liverpool player. I'm saying it as an ex-Everton fan. And when I made that comment, Everton got in touch with me. And I actually admired it, that they were almost on the front foot trying to defend their club. And I thought, well, OK, fair enough. We say things in the media and sometimes people come back at you. But I didn't think I was wrong when I said it then, and I'm not wrong when I said it now.
Then Sue Smith was asked on the football show at Sky Sports News about what she thought was going wrong at Everton.
It's a mess, and Stephen's just said the word. I think that's the best word to describe Everton at the moment. I think the relationship between the fans and the board is completely broken now. I don't see how that's gonna get resolved. They want change at board level, so I think for things to improve, that's what they want. They want that change.
Sorry, Sue. Do you not feel though, looking at Arsenal, it can improve? The right appointment. If you are to relieve Frank of his duties, then if you bring in the right person and you give them the reign to get the right person in to buy players, work with the manager, do the right thing, that it can work.
I think the problem is there's been years of mismanagement and years of not looking after the club the way that the club should be looked after. And I think that's a frustration from the fans. So I think the decisions that have been made haven't been the right decisions. Yes, Moshiri came in, and I think all Evertonians thought, wow, this is brilliant. Yeah. He's going to come in, he's going to spend the money, we're going to get a brilliant manager, we're going to start challenging
for
trophies.
Not for want of trying. Ancelotti's coming, giving it a go. Dare I mention Rafa Benitez in on that side of Stanley Park? But they, you know, Frank Lampard, a bright young manager that there was much hope over.
Yeah, and then I think, but then you look at the players that they've brought in with the different managers. So I looked at the list of players and the amount of money that Everton have spent. How many of those players are worth that money? So the amount of money that's been spent is a lot of money that probably Everton didn't need to spend. So I think it's the decision making, it's the people that are in charge. That's what fans really have the frustration with. And I think, like you say, when Moshiri came in, there was a lot of hope and expectation that this could take Everton to challenge for trophies and challenge for titles, because that's exactly what they want. And the thing with the fans is they support the team no matter what. You saw them last season. They helped get Everton out of the trouble that they were in. They were there before the game. They were there for the 90 minutes. Even in this situation, they're there. They're supporting the team for 90 minutes. But the anger is at the board and the decisions, and they want that to change.
So to go along with Jamie Carragher's thought about Everton being the worst-run team in football right now. I'm sure that if you went to another couple of countries, I'm sure that Nick would probably have some answers. He probably would say Juve if you're looking at Italy. If you're looking in the lower divisions in English football, you could be looking at a lot of the teams that were in the Premier League that are struggling right now at the bottom of the championship, or perhaps are even in League One looking for owners. You've got what Derby County has gone through recently, but right now they are in League One. They're fighting for it. 27 matches. They're in fourth right now. They're in the promotion playoffs for what you would see in English football. Are they kind of on their way back? Don't know. We'll find out. So that takes you through League One. In League Two, you could probably make some plays for some other teams as well that have really fallen down the line recently, and teams that have even gone out of the first four divisions in England soccer. What about in the National League? You could say the same thing about a team like Notts County, who is trying to work their way back out of the National League, and right now they are second. They would be in one of the automatic spots, but go back and read about Notts County and how everything has gone poorly for them in recent seasons. And then, honestly, if you look at a team like Scunthorpe, who's been trying to find an owner out of League One, out of League Two, at the bottom of the National League right now, and they have played 27 matches, and they are at the bottom of the table. They are 8 points adrift right now with 19 matches to go in the National League. They could go to National League. They could end up in the 6th division of England soccer if they don't find an owner in short order. Folks would probably look at Blackpool. Folks would be looking at a lot of other owners when it comes to their favorite teams. Give a country name, and you probably could end up with folks that could challenge what Jamie Carragher was saying when it came to the worst-run franchise currently in sports when it comes to the sport of soccer. Getting you ready for activity in the FA Cup. That's going to be next weekend. You have Manchester United and Arsenal coming up in a couple of days' time. Then you have a lot of activity on the 28th. And so Friday Night Football gives you Man City and Arsenal. Man City's a minus 137. Then on the 28th in the FA Cup, you have Leicester at Walsall. Leicester's a minus 295 on the road. Blackburn a favorite at home against Birmingham. West Brom at a plus 121 at Bristol City. Fulham a minus 204 hosting Sunderland. Burnley a favorite at Ipswich at a plus 114. Luton Town a minus 233 hosting Grimsby Town. Sheffield Wednesday a minus 217 hosting Fleetwood Town. Southampton a minus 204 hosting Blackpool. Preston North End a plus 800 basically as Spurs come to Preston North End at a minus 312. That one's at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And Manchester United and Reading. Manchester United is a minus 625. That's the late game on Saturday at a minus 625 at 3 o'clock Eastern time. 3 matches on your Sunday. Brighton hosting Liverpool. Liverpool is a road favorite at a plus 145. Stoke a minus 175 at home against Stevenage. Wrexham goes and they host Sheffield United. Keep an eye on that one. 11:30 Sunday morning, Sheffield United a minus 123 against the Giant Killers. Then Wrexham, Monday Night Football, has Derby and West Ham, and West Ham is a minus 154 as they go and visit Derby County. So that is what you're facing. Once again, reminder, Premier League doesn't come back until February 4th, first weekend of February. You've got Friday Night Football on the 3rd with Chelsea and Fulham, but that will be the first match played after the end of the January transfer window, and we'll see who will have done what, where, and when between now and the end of the window. That's another go-around to Prem and Proper. Thanks to contributor Niall for his thoughts for the matches across the board. Sights and sounds on our end, courtesy once again of our friends at Sky Sports News, and Sky Sports Premier League on social media. Play it safe, everybody. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Enjoy your matches in England, or as Jason says, England, all across the board. We'll catch up with you next time.